this year.
First pitch swinging, line drive, he's done it. John Means has no-hit the Mariners. They go! Brown fakes, dishes, Kyrie going for the 50-piece. Irving has 50!
Pressure from the Steelers. Mayfield in trouble, and he's going to be taken down. Who else but T.J. Watt?
First downs on this drive. Heineke, end zone, McLaurin, touchdown!
Torres drives that ball center field, hit deep, going back near the wall. Wilkerson, maybe, nope, goodbye, home run. Get him out of there! Don't throw to him.
I never seen anything like
Put
it.
up four fingers.
I've never seen anything like it.
He is just tearing the Orioles apart.
Jonathan Taylor, goodbye, touchdown, Indy, as he crossed the tape at the goal line. 78 yards.
And here we go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Sports Department Podcast. I am Stephen Colonian, joined alongside Justin Valtovic and Eyes McGee, Stephen Clark, staring right into the camera. And this is the moment that Stephen Clark and Justin Valtovic have been waiting for, where we break down the reigning champions of the AFC South, Tennessee Titans, with our 2022 division previews, continuing on with the AFC South, with the Titans, Colts, Jaguars, and Texans. Now, before Justin, break down the Colts secondary. How are you guys?
I'm doing better than Justin, I'll tell you that for sure.
Mark gets off of COVID, I go on to COVID.
There you go. Yeah, I wasn't on the last couple of pods because, I was on the COVID IL, but yeah, I'm good now.
Justin also hasn't gotten COVID, at least, but that I know of. But I've been hunkered down in my basement for 10 days straight at this point, and I forgot what sunlight looks like. So yeah, I'm trying to avoid getting it from my family now. But here nor there, I'm living in my lair.
Honestly, that's kind of like fit for you though. You like being
I'm probably developing worse health problems from my basement than I would if I just got COVID at this rate.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I've literally been I literally sleep down here. I go to work down here. I do everything else down here. The only time I'm not down here now at this point is when I go out to get food or for a walk. So you're talking 20 out of 24 hours a day I am down here.
Where's the nearest bathroom?
If you go upstairs in the laundry room, like if we're out on the deck.
You have to go upstairs still.
Yes. Yeah, there's none in my basement.
Okay.
Showering has been a predicament. I will say that. So
little stinky down there.
Oh, thank God I can open the windows to vent out some air. Not that one over here, but in the other room. So that helps. I've no longer eaten in this room because I do not need it to smell like takeout for like the remainder of the night. And it just
that's what happens in here. It gets in like the furniture in here, and
it's rough, but we're getting through it. So gotta love it. Gotta love it.
Yeah, glad to hear.
COVID in 2022. What a fun time.
God, I know. I guess I'm fucking next on the list. So we'll hopefully not. But nevertheless, we are continuing on with our division previews, and this should be a good one. Two top dogs, maybe a third team might be able to sneak in there. Not sure, but it is the AFC South, and some good moves made all around. One team got a new quarterback. Another team drafted potentially the quarterback. One team got a new head coach, and the Texans
are still the Texans. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. It's basically the Colts and the Titans, and then if the Jaguars under Doug Peterson now can kind of figure their stuff out and not be a hot mess like they were last year, and Trevor Lawrence can at least look like the quarterback everyone believes he can be, they could probably at least be more of a headache. Yeah. But like you said, the Texans are still just a mess. And until they find an actual quarterback, because Davis Mills obviously is not it, they're obviously waiting to draft their guy. They're irrelevant.
Well, the biggest thing with the Texans that, kind of getting overlooked a little bit is traded Deshaun Watson. I mean, the Deshaun Watson was a Texan, last season, didn't play obviously because of all this nonsense going on. And the suspension just came out today with everything, 11 games and getting fined. Basically like a penny in his pocket pretty much because, these NFL players make a lot of money. But yeah, that's a big move. That big trade happened. But yeah, no, I guess we're going to start with the Texans pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, plus 3,000 odds to win the division. Big re-signing or additions, AJ Cann, Jalen Reeves-Maybin, Jair Ogunbowale, and Blake Cashman.
It is literally just players at this point who can fill the 53-man roster.
Yep. Like Clark said, they traded away Deshaun Watson. Justin Reed, their best defensive player, left for the Chiefs.
They have nothing. They have nothing.
Team that's in the mix for first overall.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what they want. Depending on whoever the quarterback's coming out, that they'll probably go that way, depending on if like Bryce Young is the guy and whatnot.
I'm not ready to give up on Davis Mills.
No, he showed
some flashes last year.
But I equate him to kind of like Garner Minshew, and like the Jacoby Brissett tier. It's like, yeah, they're top tier backups potentially, but as full season starters, they're not going to give you a whole lot. Like, the game against the Colts before Mills got hurt, he was having a good game. He can move the ball. He's a competent enough quarterback, but at his best, he is probably their franchise backup to go to, like a Nick Foles type who can come in and play some relief quarterback at times, but full 17 game season, he won't give you much. So at the end of the day, I think the Texans 2 wins maybe.
Yeah. And unfortunate news too with the Texans, John Mechie, their second round pick, who was so explosive in college, he was diagnosed with leukemia, so most likely he's going to be out for the year. So
that sucks.
Yes, it hurts them. It's just going to be a bad year for Houston. Another 4th place finish. If Davis Mills has a good year, you probably need to seriously consider giving him the reins. If not, you're going to be in contention for a top pick and will most likely be able to get one of those top quarterbacks. If you're the Texans, you just want to play spoiler to your division. That's all. Just try and beat division teams.
And try to see what young pieces you have on your team that could actually stick around when it's time to compete. It's just figuring out who can actually play at the NFL level right now.
Exactly. Yeah. Hopefully Derek Stingley, their 3rd overall pick, can show some signs, but nevertheless going to be a rough year for Houston. So we move on to the Jacksonville Jaguars at plus 750 to win the division. And man, what a roller coaster of a year it was last season under Urban Meyer.
It was highly entertaining.
It was rough. It went from, him not knowing who Aaron Donald was to him kicking physically the kicker to everyone hating him. And he's out of town, and they get an actual competent head coach with Doug Peterson. Looking at some key additions, they signed Christian Kirk to a
massive deal.
Breaking the wide receiver market for years to come.
Yep, they went all out. First day of free agency, Zay Jones, Evan Engram, Brandon Scherf represent. Foye Oluokun, the NFL's leading tackler, and Darius Williams. They re-signed Quan Treadwell. Looking, Cam Robinson's on the franchise tag. Lost Chark.
This was a good way of resetting without scrapping everything again.
Definitely.
Right? Obviously, they had some pieces in their draft class they liked. Trevor Lawrence, ETN has yet to play, and so forth. And then they took Trayvon Walker 1st overall, right?
Yes.
So obviously, and then you get Doug Peterson. So it's like, okay, you have your quarterback in place. You have some draft capital. You bring in some young talent. You drafted a whole fucking bunch of linebackers, it seemed like. And then you still have you brought in some veterans who can play, right, at that point. So they're doing the right things to at least help Trevor Lawrence, and they're giving him some help. And, Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl, and, Frank Reich and him made Carson Wentz obviously a half-season MVP. So, Trevor Lawrence, at least on paper, is a higher potential than Carson Wentz at that point. So this is probably I'm saying at the time of when Peterson came in, Lawrence is a far better prospect than what Wentz was at the time, right? And Doug Peterson, he's a competent head coach, right? At that point, this is probably the best head coach they've had in like our lifetime. Other than like Doug Marrone, yes, they had a good team, and somehow he got them to an AFC Championship game with Blake Bortles, for God's sakes. But like head coach wise, this is probably the highest quality head coach they've had in our lifetime.
Yeah, I'm just still stuck on the Christian Kirk thing. I can't get over that. But it was a solid offseason for them, and like Justin said it best, like they are rebuilding still, but they didn't have scrapped down all the way. So a lot of decent signings, a lot of like contemporary signings. Like I don't know, a lot of these guys are going to be part of the long-term plan of this. You have your quarterback in play for the next hopefully 15 years for this organization, but
it's enough talent to help gauge what exactly Lawrence is.
Exactly. And they are a dark. I think they are like one of the like few dark horses that if things go wrong and injuries happen, there are probably one of the only dark horses to win a division, I would say.
I have a little bit of a bold take here.
Oh, baby.
Let's hear it.
I think you could be looking at a potential Bengals situation from last year. I mean, really taking that jump, maybe, making the playoffs as a wild card team. If Lawrence shows signs, ETN apparently has looked great in camp. You got some pieces on the defense. You revamped the offensive line. Good head coach. I don't know. I mean, I think it's possible.
And not only ETN, but apparently James Robinson's supposed to be ready for week 1. That came out today. So you have a dual backfield.
Was it ACL?
ACL? I think it was ACL. Yeah. So, I mean, he had everyone forgets, what he did 2 years ago or whatever that was. He broke out. And, if they have a nice dual backfield, I mean, it could be one of the best backfields in the game as well.
Yeah, I think Jaguars have potential to do some damage. Like Clark said, if they stay healthy and all goes well. Plus 750 to win the division. Good odds or
still far off, but I think Clark kind of hit the nail on the head where if things kind of break their way right with some injuries going down, or maybe the Titans fall apart, Matt Ryan falls apart. Very long shot to win the South. But at the same time, if things break in other divisions, maybe a potential they could be flirting with a wild card team, with the offensive moves they made and Doug Peterson and all that and so forth. I could see, 7 to 9 wins ballpark. And if things go right for them and wrong for other teams, that could be flirting with a wild card spot potentially.
See, I think they have a better chance of winning the division over the wild card. Just how stacked the West is. You never know what you're going to get out of the Dolphins with Tua and Tyreek and that whole thing now. And
in general, I think it's just going to be hard for a second team in general to come out of the South.
Yeah,
just looking at the West, the East, and the North. You have 3 teams potentially out of the North. Not now, honestly, but you have 2, and then you have 4 potentially out of the West. For God's sake,
all those are playoff contenders for sure. Yeah, it's nutty, but I'm taking them to finish 3rd still. I think that's my final guess.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet.
I think 7 to 10 wins is kind of a good ballpark of where they could finish, or they could really just not too great and finish with 5. From Jesse Norman, though, he does say that the Jags are finally going to be competent for the first time in 4 years. So
thanks, Jesse.
Gotta love Norman's takes. Now we move on to
that's the best thing we have about Jesse's takes, and it's an abridged, brief sentence.
God, I know we never get that.
That's the shortest take he's had on any podcast.
Oh, big time. So now we move on to the reigning AFC South champions, who got a little worse. We could say some question marks in the offseason. Another year where the Titans win the South, look unstoppable, and get upset in the playoffs. So Tennessee Titans plus 165 to win the South. Looking at some of their moves, they traded away A.J. Brown. Obviously.
That was just a shocker on draft night.
Yeah, that was nuts to the Eagles. Yeah. I mean,
they didn't want to pay him, and it's because of the Jaguars.
Steve said it. Their offense is bad. If you take Derrick Henry out for a couple weeks, this offense is
Tannehill can't. The offense severely relies on setting up the run, setting up the pass with play actions. Tannehill is good at is play action rollouts and throwing to the receivers coming across the middle because the linebackers bid on Derrick Henry getting the ball up the middle. And you don't have A.J. Brown, who's a physical receiver downhill at that point. So it's like, what are we doing? And it's like, I get it. Who they drafted is like comp to A.J. Brown, but it's like, okay, why not just have A.J. Brown at that point?
And if shit starts hitting the fan around week 5, week 6, I can see Malik Willis coming in
the thing.
Around then too. I think he's going to take his job right on the spot.
Because they took him 3rd round?
Yeah.
That's still starter territory if we're being honest.
Yeah. Doing his first game.
Well, that's the thing. They're giving him a lot of reps in preseason. And honestly, Tannehill, he's been banged up recently. He hasn't been great, and he's starting to show signs more of what he was in Miami towards the end, which wasn't anything special. And I could literally see, like Clark said, if things look flat or boring, putting Malik in, and he is that spark potentially.
Yeah, they did trade for Robert Woods, and they signed Austin Hooper, but they did lose Roger Saffold, their starting right guard, who was a big piece of that line. And Julio Jones left in free agency.
Didn't really offer much anything last year, though.
No, but big name and when healthy is pretty good. But nevertheless, Titans plus 165. I think, like we said, I mean,
they got worse. Like this wasn't a great productive offseason for them.
But every year it's like, are the Titans going to be that good? And then here they go.
No, but honestly, they're on their back end of the window. If I'm being honest, with this current iteration of the team, they really only have 1 or 2 more years left in them of going for it. I think
definitely.
The honestly, is good if they can somehow.
It's going to be Tannehill's play. Is really what it's going to be.
100. Yeah, I mean, if they rely on Henry again, he's probably going to get hurt again. I hate to say it, but
because he had a foot injury, right?
Yeah.
And once running backs and a big running back like him starts getting foot injuries, they slowly start reoccurring and coming back and getting more prolonged.
He's as strong as an ox, but if he starts getting slower, I mean, the DBs are going to start catching up to him, and they'll just keep going low on him, and then he'll start.
Well, and that's his thing. Once he gets going with momentum, is when he's hard to tackle.
Yeah.
If he has trouble getting going at that point, the linebackers have time to hit him.
Yes, but I mean, if he stays healthy, I mean, he's arguably the best running back in the league.
For sure.
So this, like Clark said, this offense is going to rely on him. Robert Woods off an ACL, I don't really trust. Jackson Smith-Njigba did look pretty good last year, I will say.
And who did they draft? What was the name of the receiver they drafted?
Treylon Burks.
Yeah.
So
see,
it's nothing special.
Going to be a homer, of course. They're coming in second place this year.
Yeah.
Well, because you have to think it's like they have the second best defense. They have an average receiving core compared to the Colts. Offensive line is significantly worse. Quarterback wise, Tannehill's worse than Matt Ryan. Running back wise, you can debate either one. They're 1A to 1B at that point. They're basically the best 2 backs in the league. It's like really the Colts checked off every box that they were lacking in the Titans in previous years.
Yeah. Titans are going to go heavy on the defense this year and see if we'll see if that can carry them
like the Titans realistically, they're going to have to win games 17-10, 24 to 17. Like it's going to be close, low scoring games. Like I think the days of the Titans putting up 30 to 35 points a game that we've seen at times them do, I think that's in the rearview mirror at this point. I think at best they're a 24-point team per game.
I still think this defense is elite, though.
It's great.
It's great, but that can only do so much. The Bears had an elite defense, and look where that's gotten 3 quarterbacks by now.
Yeah. Plus 165 to win the division. You think it's possible? I think it's definitely possible.
I think it's possible. I don't think they do it this year. Finally.
Yeah.
I still think at the end of the day, though, they're 11 to 13 wins.
Yeah.
11 wins.
Let's
final wild card.
Let's rip this Band-Aid off. The Indianapolis Colts made a couple moves this offseason. Not many, but they made some big ones.
Significant ones.
Got rid of Carson Wentz and brought in Matt Ryan. Got rid of elite lockdown CB1, Rock Yassin, for Yannick Ngakoue. Signed Brandon Faison from the Raiders. Lost their DC, Matt Eberflus, but they brought in Gus Bradley. So pretty good veteran name there. Lost Mark Lewinsky, George Odom, Alkahin Muhammad, and Zach Pascal.
Akari Willis also retired.
Oh, God, that's right.
Right.
So the biggest question of the Colts now are left tackle and right guard, which it's Matt Pryor and Bernard Raymond for left tackle. Which honestly, at that point, compared to what Fisher produced last year, it's worth taking a shot at someone else.
Whatever.
Would I have been happier at them signing another veteran? More than likely, yes. Lewinsky sucks losing him because he played every single game and he was a relatively very reliable offensive guard. So now it's going to be
Justin. Stephon Gilmore, too.
That little guy.
Probably the biggest acquisition.
Yeah. So offensive line did get a little bit weaker, but they do have players in the system they believe can step up. It's just a matter of will they, and hopefully they do.
Danny Pinter.
Matt Ryan, I have gone on record multiple times. I initially did not want Carson Wentz. I wanted Jimmy Garoppolo, and I wanted other people for him. Right? I would have been fine with keeping Carson around. Right? He had a good season. I think he was like 27 to 7 touchdowns and interceptions, which by his standards, that was a good season. But at the end of the day, he didn't show up when we needed him most, which was in those last 3 games. He hid under a blanket basically and didn't peek his head out. Matt Ryan, yes, he's a lot older and he's a lot slower, but he takes care of the football and he's a veteran quarterback and he knows what the hell he's doing. He has an offensive line that can protect him. He has, some good wide receivers, not the deepest receiving core, but he has 3 potentially really good receivers with him. And he has one of the best running backs in the league. So he won't have to do too much. So on the offensive, that's great. Biggest holes, though, are now on defense, where it's, no, I was thinking about our secondary because
no, our secondary is nice.
Yeah, no, never mind. It's really just safety.
My biggest concern is the first couple of weeks of the season that Darius Shaquille Leonard is probably not going to be playing in because he's still recovering from a back surgery.
That's where I was going. That's where I was going was linebacking core.
Yeah, that scares me. You touched on the offense nicely. I don't think I need to talk about anything there. Defensive line, I mean, you're set.
I texted Clark because I texted Clark because I was playing my Madden franchise. I'm like, legitimately, we have 3 defensive player of the year candidates on our defense in Buck, Leonard, and Gilmore.
Yeah.
Like they legitimately could be a top 3 defense, if not a top defense in the NFL. Julian Blackmon is a question mark coming off of an Achilles playing safety, which we are well used to with safeties having it lower leg soft tissue injuries with Bob Sanders and Malik Hooker. So it's just a thing as a Colts fan at that point. And then, of course, Nick Cross, I think. They also have Rodney McLeod.
That's your starter.
Well, Rodney McLeod is also there. So that's good.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you guys got Nick Cross.
It's going to be heavy on running the ball, Matt Ryan taking care of the football, and the defense just playing shutdown. And getting Stephon Gilmore will literally shut down one side of the field, and it's like, oh, we trade Rocky Seam, but yeah, we get a much better pass rusher, and our D line is Buck, Pay, and Ngakoue. That's great, And Gilmore and Kenny is great because you don't have a 5'8" corner covering 6'2" wide receiver ones at that point. So they literally fixed their defense as a whole.
Yeah,
it's just a receiving core because it's like, yes, Pittman. Hopefully he takes
my biggest question mark.
It's like Pittman. I'm buying in. I have a jersey right there, right? Hopefully he takes the next step to being a true wide receiver 1. Alec Pierce has looked great. He's beating the shit out of Lions cornerbacks in training camp and the practices they're doing, it seems like. But after that, it's a steep drop off. Paris Campbell, can he stay healthy?
Yep.
And then it's like, who the hell else? We didn't re-sign
Megatron, yeah.
So it's really after our first 2 wide receivers are the question marks at that point.
Yeah, if one goes down, we're screwed. So that's fun.
What about Ashton Doolin?
He's fast.
I think we have Kiki QT also. I think he's somewhere in there.
He's former Texan. We do.
Yeah.
If they resign Ty, I'll feel a lot better about this receiver.
Oh, he's still not back? Oh,
no.
He's just out there. He's free agent.
His banner is still on the stadium, though. So, I don't know.
But yeah, I'm taking. I think I said it last year too, of course. But I'm taking them to win the division. I think finally you have a consistent enough quarterback. Rivers was consistent. You made the playoffs wild card game. Carson was good, but he choked at the end.
Matt Ryan's kind of the best of combination of both of them.
Exactly. I have faith in Matt. He's on the field all the time. He doesn't get hurt, knock on wood.
Well, and if God forbid he goes down, we do have Nick Foles, which it's better than Easton and Ellinger. But I'm just saying it's a backup that could be a starter if something happened.
Yeah. So I'm
honestly at that point
to win the division though.
Is Foles that much different than Tannehill?
I'd take Tannehill over still.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, it's not going from Carson to Ellinger like we almost had to.
Christmas Day or whatever that was.
Oh, that was a rough
one.
Christmas to New Year sucked last year.
Yeah. I'm taking them to win it.
I'm with you. I think they're a 12 to 14 win team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think definitely upgraded quarterback with Matt Ryan. I don't really believe in the Wentz slander.
No, neither do I. No, neither do I. Like he played well.
He played very good. He just didn't come up big in something.
And it's just when his interceptions came in, they were spectacularly bad of how they came in. It looked like the car accident you can't look away from. You got someone going through the windshield on the side of the road, but it's like, ooh, I can't look away. That's his level of interceptions. They're brutal when they come.
But other times he'll go through like 3 defenders and like make an insane pass.
His thing is he doesn't throw the ball away for anything. He will eat a 10-yard sack.
Yeah, he will.
So I'm looking at some numbers.
Go ahead.
Last year, 402 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks.
Exactly.
They blew the game to Baltimore.
That was a fun one.
That's a loss not on Wentz. Week 2 against the Rams, he got hurt.
I was there.
You were there for that one too.
Second play.
I was at
34 to 31 loss.
I was at two of like the four most brutal losses.
You were at
two
of the two
of the four. It was the Raiders and Jags.
The worst one was week 18 for sure, but
Raiders and Jags were the two other worst ones.
Yeah. You need the same thing from Jonathan Taylor, and most likely we're gonna get it just because he's awesome. Colts, they're good.
Yeah.
And,
not too many things to poke holes in with them this year. Usually it's the quarterback or the secondary or the receiving core or the offensive line or the running game. No, I think Ballard has finally gotten to where he's wanted to build a roster, and every single day it's what if we actually had luck with this roster still? But we don't. We have Matty Ice, and I'm here for it. And hopefully he does one thing that a quarterback hasn't done in several years for us. Played 2 seasons consecutively with us.
And win the division. We haven't done since 15 maybe.
Yeah, luck when
make the playoffs.
Yeah, when Mariota was hurt and we had the win and we're in game, and it was like luck against Blaine Gabbert and was just
when he dogged him. Yeah,
I remember that game got flexed to Sunday Night Football. It's like, really? It's like, I get it's like we win and we get the division, but it's like, really?
Yeah.
Gotta make the playoffs. And
absolutely. Honestly, I agree. They have to make the divisional round. Simple as, because if Carson were to come back, last year was his make the playoffs and maybe lose a game. I think that timeline does not change, even though it's Matt Ryan and a lot of different players for the most part. I think you have to get in and win a round. Simple as that.
I agree. 100% agree.
Yeah, because you think about it.
Because at some point, it's got to fall on Reich. It's as simple as that. I get the quarterback retiring. You had 5 quarterbacks since then. But it's like at some point, Reich does need to be accountable. Not many coaches would survive having 5 to 6 quarterbacks in a 6-year span at this point. 5 to 6 year span. Matt Ryan, depending on how it goes, Matt Ryan could be Reich's last quarterback potentially and last go around. I think we're getting to that point.
I think so too.
Also got to think too, at the end of this year, Q's got to get paid. Taylor's contract's coming up. Pittman's contract's coming up. So you might have to start letting go.
Kenny probably.
Kenny, the new contract.
Well, thankfully, the Falcons picked up like all of Matt Ryan's contract because they're paying him like $50 million to not be on the roster this year, which is fantastic for us.
That's beast, yeah.
But yeah, Q is obviously priority, and like you said, this is year 3 of Pittman and Taylor. So after next season, they have to get paid. Both of them are 2nd-round picks. You don't have the 5th-year option. Only one of them can get franchise tagged. So at that point, who do you pay long-term? Who do you tag and try to get a deal done and kind of stagger them at that point?
Well, we'll figure that out when it comes.
Yes, we will see. But Clark, that is the you guys both picked the Colts. I'm also going to go the Colts. I think they do. This is the year they win it.
For the shoe, baby.
You know what? I'm going Titans now.
Fuck you.
All right.
Yeah, I'll go Titans. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Definitely a top-heavy division. But Clark, hit us with an outro.
It's been a while. They've been rough without you.
Yeah, I bet.
As in, they have barely been done.
Yeah.
Well, it's mostly Justin. Listen to us.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure you guys subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Follow the socials on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at sports.pod. That's sports DEPT pod. We're getting through all the divisions, getting there. Hey man, I've been saying it for 3 months now, but MLB postseason's running. It's here. It's coming, baby. It's coming. So that, basketball eventually. We'll probably basketball,
hockey. Got to break down the Devils.
Opening day baseball next year, all the good stuff. Stay tuned to all that, and we'll see you in the next